The great marble gates of the Veliari Palace opened with a deep hum. Ethan Cole stepped inside, his translator badge glowing faintly on his chest. The air was thick with the scent of strange flowers and charged energy. He was the only human in the room, surrounded by tall, silver-skinned guards whose eyes shone like polished steel. Every movement echoed against the crystal walls. He had been told this was a diplomatic mission. Earth had joined the Galactic Concord, and he was chosen to translate human language into Veliari speech. To him it sounded simple, a matter of words, tones, and respect. But as he walked deeper into the royal chamber, something felt wrong. The silence was too perfect, the kind that carried a warning. At the far end of the hall stood Princess Lysera, daughter of the Veliari Emperor. Her skin shimmered like moonlight over water, and her eyes held the cold calm of deep space. She wore a flowing cloak of dark silver, every step leaving trails of light in the air. When Ethan bowed and introduced himself, she smiled. But it was not the kind of smile that welcomed peace. It was curious, testing, almost playful. "Human," she said softly, her voice smooth and echoing. "You are the one who understands our words but not our ways." Ethan straightened, trying to stay professional. "I'm here only to translate." "Your Highness," he replied. Lysera's gaze lingered on him, as if studying a rare artifact. Her tone dropped lower. "Only to translate, yes. That is what they all say." Then she turned to her guards and with a gesture dismissed them. The metallic footsteps faded until the chamber door slid shut with a hiss. Ethan's heartbeat quickened. The silence deepened and the atmosphere shifted. He was alone with an alien princess who had just locked the door behind him. Lysera walked toward him slowly, her cloak whispering against the polished floor. She stopped just a few steps away, her eyes glowing faintly blue. "Tell me, translator," she said, "what do humans feel when they fight?" The question struck him like a spark. He blinked, unsure. "When we fight, princess, we defend ourselves," he answered carefully. Her eyes narrowed. "No, that is what soldiers say. I'm asking what you feel." Ethan hesitated, unsure if this was some test. "I feel fear," he said finally, "but also determination because we fight for each other." Lysera tilted her head, studying him. "Togetherness," she murmured. "That is what makes your kind dangerous." Her tone was neither insult nor praise, but something in between. She moved to a console near the wall and dimmed the chamber lights until only the faint blue glow of her eyes remained. Ethan's throat went dry. He wondered if this was a diplomatic trap, a test of loyalty, or something more personal. "You know," she whispered, turning toward him, "my father fears your people. He says humans rise too fast, that you burn everything in your path, even your own stars." Her fingers traced the air, forming symbols that pulsed softly in the dark. Ethan watched, fascinated yet tense. "I'm just a translator," he said again. Voice low, Lysera smiled. A real smile this time, but one that carried danger. "Perhaps that's why I wanted to speak to you alone," she replied. For a moment, no one spoke outside the windows. Twin moons hung over the alien sky. Ethan could hear the faint hum of energy flowing through the walls. Lysera stepped closer, so near that he could see the reflection of Earth's emblem in her pupils. "You speak our words, Ethan Cole, but do you understand what they mean?" she asked. He swallowed, unsure how to respond. Her cloak shimmered, and slowly she unclasped it, letting it fall. Underneath was a ceremonial armor of transparent crystal threads that glowed with her heartbeat. It was both beautiful and intimidating. Ethan stepped back instinctively. Lysera laughed softly, the sound strange but not cruel. "Do not be afraid, human. I do not harm those who answer truthfully," she said. "Tell me, what is Earth truly preparing for?" Her tone was calm, but her eyes demanded an answer. Ethan hesitated. He wasn't authorized to share anything beyond translation. He tried to deflect. "We prepare for peace." But Lysera's expression hardened. "Peace is a lie told before war begins," she whispered almost to herself. The silence between them stretched until the tension became unbearable. Ethan could feel the pulse of his heart in his ears. He realized this wasn't just a conversation, it was interrogation, maybe even seduction mixed with strategy. Lysera turned away from him, her voice echoing softly through the chamber. "My father believes words can stop humans, but I have seen your eyes," she said. "They are not the eyes of diplomats. They are the eyes of survivors." Ethan took a breath. Unsure whether to thank her or defend himself, he stepped closer, trying to meet her gaze. If you've seen our eyes, he said quietly, then you know we don't start wars, but we finish them. Lysera's lips curved again. That same strange smile. She walked past him toward the door, paused and looked back. Then maybe, Translator. We are not so different, she said. With a soft hum, the chamber door opened, flooding the room with white light before stepping out. She glanced over her shoulder once more and added, Tomorrow they will ask you to translate lies. Be careful which ones you choose to speak. The door closed behind her, leaving Ethan alone in the silent chamber. The air still carried her voice, and the echo of her words wrapped around his thoughts. He stood frozen, realizing this was no ordinary assignment. It was the beginning of something far larger and far more dangerous. Ethan could not sleep that night. The chamber's silence still echoed inside his mind. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the princess's smile, calm yet dangerous. He remembered her last words. Tomorrow they will ask you to translate lies. He didn't know what she meant, but something deep inside him whispered that she was right. The next morning, the golden sun of the Velyari homeworld rose slowly over the palace towers. The royal court gathered for the alliance announcement. Dozens of alien dignitaries filled the great hall, and Ethan stood behind the human ambassador. His small translator device flickered to life, ready to turn words into truth or manipulation. He felt sweat forming on his neck as the Emperor entered, his eyes glowing like cold plasma. The Emperor's voice thundered through the chamber. People of the conquered, he said, the humans come to us in friendship, but we question their intentions. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. That was not part of the prepared speech. He looked at the ambassador, but the man's face remained still, pretending nothing was wrong. Then the Emperor's tone shifted. He accused Earth of breaking the peace, claiming humans had built weapons near the border stars. It was all false. A complete fabrication. Ethan hesitated, his translator device recording every word. Should he translate the Emperor's lies exactly as spoken, or change them to keep peace? Lysera's warning echoed in his head. Be careful which lies you choose to speak. He looked at the ambassador again, who whispered, Translate it exactly. But Ethan's conscience twisted. He was not just translating words. He was deciding how history would remember this day. In the end, he obeyed his duty. He translated the Emperor's lies word for word. His voice shaking, the alien crowd murmured in disapproval. By the end of the speech, it sounded as if Earth had already declared war. When the court ended, Ethan stepped back, his thoughts heavy. The guards escorted everyone out, and as the last delegate left, he noticed someone watching him from the upper balcony. It was Lysera, her silver cloak shimmering in the sunlight. She did not smile this time, her gaze was sharp. A silent message, a question only he could understand. Later that night, as Ethan reviewed the recordings, he found something strange, a faint pulse of light hidden inside the translation data. He enhanced it, and saw a sequence of alien symbols repeating in intervals. It wasn't random, it was a hidden code. He ran the sequence through the translator again, and a message appeared on his screen. You chose the wrong lie today. Meet me at midnight alone. His heart pounded. He didn't know if it was a trap or a chance to fix what had happened. Still, he couldn't ignore it. The palace halls were nearly empty when he left his room. The air was cool and silent, and only the faint hum of power lines filled the corridors. He followed the signal through narrow staircases and glass bridges that overlooked the glowing city below. At exactly midnight, he reached a door marked with the royal insignia. Before he could knock, it slid open. Lysera stood there, her hair loose, her cloak gone, wearing a soft white gown that shimmered like starlight. Her expression was unreadable, part anger, part sorrow. You translated his words, she said quietly. And now your world will suffer for them. Ethan raised his hands. I had no choice, Your Highness. I had to obey protocol. Lysera stepped closer, her voice calm but sharp. You humans hide behind rules, but your heart speaks louder than your orders. He could see the conflict in her eyes. Not hatred, but disappointment. Why send me a message, he asked. If you already knew what I'd do. She turned away, walking to the large window overlooking the starry sky. Because I wanted to see if you were like the others, she said. Cold, logical, predictable, Ethan frowned. And what did you find? Lysera looked back, her silver eyes glimmering. That you are not like them, she said softly. She touched a console beside her, and a hologram appeared. An image of the Emperor speaking with alien generals. They were discussing something called Operation Silence, a plan to provoke Earth into a galactic war. Ethan's breath caught. This is treason. Lysera nodded slowly. I warned you because I do not want my people to make the same mistake again. Ethan took a step forward, trying to understand. Mistake, he asked. What mistake? Lysera's voice lowered, almost a whisper. Long before your kind reached the stars, we fought humans once, she said. Your ancestors burned our fleets and vanished into the void, leaving behind a warning. Never awaken humanity's wrath again. Ethan felt his skin go cold. He had never read anything like that in history. You're saying humans fought the Veliari before? He asked. She nodded slowly. And we lost. Completely. For a long moment the room was silent. Only the distant hum of the city filled the space between them. Ethan realized she wasn't just protecting her people. She was protecting both worlds. Why are you telling me this? He asked softly. Lysera looked at him, her expression serious. Because tomorrow, my father will accuse your world of rebellion, she said. And I need someone who speaks both truths and lies to survive it. Ethan stared at her, realizing what she meant. You want me to betray the Emperor? Lysera's eyes met his, calm and cold. I want you to choose who deserves your loyalty, she replied. Words are more powerful than fleets, Translator. She reached out, placing a small crystal device in his hand. Keep this, she said, when the time comes. It will show you what's real. Ethan looked at the glowing crystal, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. He knew this choice would change everything. Lysera turned away, opening the door with a wave of her hand. Go, she said softly, before the guards realize you're gone. Ethan paused at the doorway. Princess, he said quietly, why help me? Lysera's lips curved into a faint smile. Because, Ethan Cole, she whispered. You're not just a translator anymore. As the door closed behind him, the palace corridors seemed darker than before. The crystal glowed faintly in his palm, casting shadows on the walls, and in that silence, Ethan finally understood. The war hadn't started yet, but the first word had already been spoken. The next sunrise over the Veliari capital was silent and cold. Ethan stood at his chamber window, the crystal Lysera had given him glowing faintly in his hand. He had barely slept, every thought tangled in fear and confusion. Was the princess telling the truth? Or was she using him for her own hidden game? Either way, he knew something terrible was about to happen. When the palace bell rang, Ethan was called again to the grand court. The hall was packed with Veliari nobles, soldiers and delegates from other races. The air was tense, heavy, like the moment before a storm. The emperor sat high on his throne, his voice sharp as lightning. Today, he declared, we face the truth of humanity's betrayal. A giant holographic display appeared, showing false evidence. Images of human fleets near forbidden space, edited, manipulated, but convincing. Ethan's blood ran cold. He knew these were lies. But the room believed every word. The emperor turned toward him. Translator Cole, he said. You will speak the human defense if there is one. Ethan's throat tightened. This was a trap. The emperor wanted him to fail, to prove that humans were deceitful. Before he could speak, he saw movement in the corner of the room. Lysera stood among the nobles, her face calm, her eyes cold. When their gazes met, she made a subtle motion with her hand. 3 fingers curved inward, then downward. It was the same motion she had used when sending him the secret code last night. His heart pounded. She was trying to tell him something. He activated the crystal device inside his sleeve, and its soft light projected hidden data over his translator lens. He saw a hidden line of text embedded deep within the Emperor's broadcast feed. It was a secret message from Lysera. Trust no one. Meet me at dawn, alone. Ethan's mind raced. The Emperor was still speaking, the crowd watching. He knew if he said the wrong words now, Earth could be declared the enemy of the galaxy. He had to buy time. He stepped forward, his voice steady but firm. Your Majesty, he said, if these images are true, then we will answer for them. But humans believe in evidence, not accusation. Murmurs spread through the court. The Emperor's glare darkened. You dare question me in my own hall, he said. Ethan bowed slightly. I only translate the truth. My lord, he replied, his words measured and sharp. Lysera's eyes flickered with approval for a brief moment before she looked away. Ethan knew he had crossed a line after the meeting. Guards escorted him back to his quarters. but not before he noticed two armored figures following at a distance. He wasn't free anymore, he was being watched. Hours passed in silence. Ethan sat by the window, staring at the city's twin moons. When dawn began to rise, he made his move. He placed a decoy transmitter on his bed, programmed to mimic his heartbeat and voice. Then he slipped out through the maintenance corridor. Guided by the crystal's faint glow, the palace was enormous, filled with twisting tunnels and glass bridges. Ethan moved quietly, keeping to the shadows. The crystal vibrated lightly in his hand, leading him toward a hidden wing of the palace. At last he reached a large, ancient door covered in strange markings. The door opened on its own, revealing Lysra waiting inside. Her cloak drawn over her face. "You came," she said softly. Her voice almost relieved. Ethan stepped forward. "You sent the message," he said. "What's going on?" Lysra turned toward a console glowing faint blue. "The Council has approved the war plan," she said. "By tomorrow, Earth will be declared a threat to galactic stability." Ethan clenched his fists. "And your father will attack first." She nodded. "Unless," she said, "we stop him." Ethan's eyes widened. "Stop him? How?" Lysra gestured toward a hidden chamber beyond the console. It was filled with glowing orbs, ancient and humming with power. "These are memory cores," she said. "Records from the first human Velyari war. They prove that your kind saved us from extinction, not caused it." Ethan stared at the swirling lights. "Then why lie?" he asked. Lysra's voice lowered. "Because power needs fear to survive. My father's rule depends on keeping humans as monsters." She touched one of the orbs, and a vision flickered. Old ships burning through space. Humans and Velyari fighting side by side against another race of shadowy beings. Ethan's breath caught. He saw ancient humans, strong and fearless, their technology beyond anything he knew. "They were protecting you," he whispered. Lysra nodded. "And my people repaid them with silence." Before they could speak further, alarms blared through the corridor. Guards were approaching, their heavy footsteps echoing. Lysra grabbed Ethan's arm, pulling him behind a large pillar. "They found us," she said. Ethan looked around, desperate. "What now?" Lysra handed him the same crystal device. "This holds the truth," she said quickly. "Get it out of the palace, take it to the human ship. Show them what really happened." Ethan hesitated. "What about you?" Lysra smiled faintly. "I'll delay them. They'll think I'm forcing you into exile." Before Ethan could answer, the door burst open. The Emperor's guards stormed in. Energy weapons drawn, Lysra turned, her voice sharp and commanding. "The human tried to escape," she shouted. "I'll handle him myself." The guards obeyed instantly, stepping back and sealing the doors behind them. As soon as they were gone, Lysra turned back to Ethan. Her voice soft again. "Go now," she said. "Before I change my mind," Ethan wanted to argue, but her eyes told him she had already accepted the risk. He nodded, clutching the crystal. "I'll bring the truth," he said quietly. Lysra gave a small smile. "Then maybe, Translator, the galaxy will finally listen." As Ethan ran down the shadowed halls, the sound of distant alarms faded behind him. He didn't look back, but he could feel Lysra's gaze through the walls. For the first time, he understood her completely. She wasn't his enemy, or she was the only one fighting for the truth, and now that truth rested in his hands. Ethan ran through the long silver corridors, the echo of alarms chasing him like ghosts. He could hear the mechanical footsteps of guards behind him, and the deep hum of the palace's defense shields activating. The glowing crystal in his hand pulsed like a heartbeat, showing him the way out. Every turn, every step, felt heavier than the last. He wasn't just escaping anymore. He was carrying the truth that could save or destroy humanity. He slipped through a maintenance hatch that opened into a narrow tunnel beneath the throne hall. The air was cold and filled with the hum of ancient machines. As he ran, he could hear faint whispers from the crystal. Voices, old and distant. They weren't human or Velyari. They sounded like memories stored inside the crystal. He slowed down, holding the crystal closer. The voices grew clearer. "Humans, protectors, fire of stars," they whispered. It was proof, ancient proof that humanity had once saved the galaxy. When Ethan emerged from the tunnel, he found himself in an underground vault. It was huge, filled with rows of glowing orbs floating in glass chambers. Symbols of old wars covered the walls, written in both human and alien language. He realized this was what Lysra had called the Chamber of Truth, and for the first time he understood what she was risking. The crystal reacted to the chamber, floating from his palm and projecting a hologram in front of him. He saw images. Human ships made of silver and blue fire, fleets larger than stars. Ancient soldiers in black armor, fighting beside Veliari warriors against a dark enemy made of shadows and light. The humans didn't conquer, they protected. They fought until the enemy vanished beyond time, leaving both races alive. Then the hologram flickered, showing the Veliari Council erasing this history. Their leader spoke. The humans must never remember their past, or they will rise again. Ethan stood frozen, the truth burning in his eyes. Humanity had not been weak, not new to the stars. They had been the ancient fire that kept the galaxy alive. But now the galaxy feared them for that very reason. Before he could record more data, the vault door opened with a loud hiss. Lysera entered, her cloak torn, a faint bruise on her cheek. She looked exhausted but determined. "You found it," she said, breathing heavily. Ethan nodded. "It's all here, everything they hid." Lysera stepped closer, her expression filled with both pride and sorrow. "I was raised to hate your kind," she whispered. "But my mother told me once, the stars owe their light to humans." Ethan stared at her. Surprised, "Your mother knew?" he asked. Lysera nodded slowly. "She died trying to reveal it. My father silenced her." Her voice cracked for the first time. Ethan felt a heavy ache in his chest. He wanted to comfort her, but there was no time for gentleness now, Lysera. He said urgently, "We can use this proof, send it to the Concord. Stop the war before it starts." Lysera shook her head, her eyes glimmering with pain. "No, Ethan, my father controls every communication channel. If you send it now, he'll erase it before it reaches anyone." Ethan frowned. "Then what's the plan?" Lysera took a deep breath. "There is an old satellite, from before the wars. It still orbits our moon, not under his control. If we upload the data there, every world in the Concord will see the truth." She turned toward the vault's console, typing a sequence of glowing symbols. The chamber's lights dimmed, and a small pod rose from the floor. "A secret escape vessel. It can reach orbit in minutes," she said. "You must take it." Ethan shook his head. "You're coming with me." Lysera smiled sadly. "If I leave, my father will know. I have to stay and distract him." Ethan stepped closer, his voice low. "You'll die if he finds out." She looked into his eyes, her silver gaze soft but steady. "Better I die for the truth than live for a lie," she said. The alarm blared louder now, echoing through the entire vault. Ethan grabbed her hand. "You're not dying." "Not today." But she gently pulled her hand away, placing the crystal back into his palm. "You are the bridge now, Translator," she said. "The galaxy will listen only if the words come from you." He hesitated, his throat tight. "Lysera," he whispered. "Why trust me?" Her lips curved in a small, almost human smile. "Because you speak with heart, not fear," she said. "And that's something even the stars remember." The door above them began to shake as guards tried to break through. Lysera pushed Ethan toward the pod. "Go now," she shouted. He climbed inside, the glass canopy sliding shut. Lysera stepped back, her cloak fluttering in the rising air pressure. She placed her hand on the glass, her voice barely audible over the noise. "Promise me you'll tell them who we really are." Ethan nodded, pressing his hand against hers. "I promise," he said quietly. The pod launched upward, bursting through the tunnels with blinding light. Below, Lysera stood alone in the vault, her face glowing under the fading light of the escape fire. As the pod rose into the black sky, Ethan looked down through the small viewport. He could still see the palace shrinking beneath him, and for a brief moment, he thought he saw Lysera look up, her silver eyes reflecting the stars. Then the clouds swallowed the view, and she was gone. Ethan gripped the crystal tightly. He whispered to himself, "The truth won't die." The stars stretched before him, endless and silent. He knew what he had to do: reach the satellite, send the message, and reveal the secret buried by centuries of fear. But deep down, one thought haunted him. Would the galaxy believe the words of a translator, or would they burn him for speaking the truth? The small escape pod cut through the upper clouds like a silver arrow. Ethan gripped the controls tightly, his eyes fixed on the glowing map projected above the console. The moon of Veliar was close now, a cold white circle against the dark sea of stars. The crystal in his hand glowed stronger. Reacting to something in orbit, he whispered to himself, "Almost there." Behind him, distant flashes of light marked the start of something terrible. The Velyari fleet was moving. The Emperor had begun his declaration of war. Ethan could hear the military broadcasts through the pod's receiver. "Earth has rejected peace," one voice said. "Activate the cleansing protocol." He clenched his fists, fury burning in his chest. The lies were spreading faster than truth. Minutes later, the pod reached the abandoned satellite Lasera had spoken of. It was old, rusted, spinning slowly, its solar panels cracked from centuries of silence. Ethan docked the pod and climbed inside the station. The air was thin, the lights flickering weakly. He connected the crystal to the satellite's core. A soft hum filled the chamber as blue light spread through the old circuits. The hologram of Lysera appeared, not in person, but a pre-recorded image. Her voice was calm and clear. "If you are hearing this, Ethan, it means I am gone or captured," she said. Her image flickered. "But the truth lives inside this message. Once you upload it, every system connected to the conquered will receive it. The humans were never the monsters. They were the protectors." Ethan felt a lump rise in his throat. He whispered, "You planned for everything." "Didn't you?" He began the upload. The progress bar moved slowly, 10%, 25, 40 outside. Flashes of blue light filled the stars. The first shots of war. The Emperor's fleet had already engaged the human ships stationed near the neutral zone. Ethan's eyes burned with rage and fear. He wanted to scream, but all he could do was watch the bar crawl upward. At 90%, the console blared a warning. "Unauthorized signal detected." The Emperor's face appeared on the screen, his voice dripping with anger. "Human," he said. "You think you can change destiny with words?" Ethan glared back. "Not words," he said. "Truth." The Emperor snarled. "You speak of truth, but all I see is chaos. Your kind brings war wherever it walks." Ethan stood tall, his voice steady. "No," he said. "We bring war only when the truth is buried." The connection flickered violently as the satellite was hit by a plasma blast. Ethan struggled to keep balance as the console sparked. The upload froze at 97%. He slammed his hand against the control, shouting, "Come on, finish it." The system rebooted, lights flickering one by one. Then with a final flash, the upload completed. The words "transmission successful" glowed on the screen. Every corner of the galaxy, from the council worlds to the border colonies, received the message. Images of ancient humans saving alien worlds, Lysera's testimony, the Emperor's secret meetings. Everything spread like wildfire across the stars. The lie was broken. The Emperor's image returned, his eyes blazing with fury. "You've doomed us all," he shouted. Ethan breathed heavily, his body trembling. "No," he said quietly. "I've given them a choice." The communication cut out. Replaced by silence outside, fleets began to hesitate. Some Velyari commanders refused to fire, their soldiers whispering about the message they had just seen. Across the galaxy, chaos turned into confusion, and confusion into awakening. Ethan collapsed beside the console, exhausted but alive. He stared at the stars through the broken window. For the first time, they looked peaceful again. He whispered, "Lysera, you did it." Then, as if in answer, the crystal beside him pulsed one last time. A soft hologram flickered. Lysera again, but this time her voice was faint. "Almost like a dream, Ethan Cole," she said softly. "The truth burns brighter than fear. Never forget that." Then the light faded and the crystal went dark. Hours passed before a human rescue ship reached the wrecked satellite. They found Ethan alive, clutching the crystal close to his chest. When they asked him what had happened, he simply said, "The galaxy remembered us back on Velyar." The Emperor's rule began to crumble. The people demanded answers, and whispers of Lysera's sacrifice spread across the empire. No one ever found her body, but some claimed that on quiet nights, a silver light still moved across the royal balcony, as if the princess was watching the stars she had saved. Ethan returned to Earth months later. He stood before the United Council, holding the crystal in his hands. His voice was steady, calm, filled with memory and loss. "I was just a translator," he said, "but I learned that words can do what weapons never can. They can change the galaxy." The chamber fell silent. Every delegate, every officer, every soul in the room felt the weight of those words. Outside the windows, the stars shimmered quietly, and somewhere in that vast sea of light, the memory of a silver-eyed princess smiled. The galaxy was no longer afraid of humanity. It was learning to understand them again. And Ethan Cole, the translator who became the voice of truth, looked up at the night sky, whispering her name. Lysera.